Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retrospect. Are you guys ready for what the big topic is? The drum roll.
Yeah, I mean we've been waiting.
Are we going to get like
weeks.
sound effects? We're going to need like a drum roll. We're going to need a.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, right. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I have a couple of them, but they're not quite panned out yet.
Oh yeah.
I have some of them, but I need to get them.
We're going to need one that goes.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
yeah.
either a vuvuzela or Stony farting.
Wow. I can promise you'll know when I fart.
Okay. You guys ready for this topic?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, when was the first time that you realized with either parent, primarily for me it's my dad, that you realized you were talking to your dad more like on the same level as him, and or your parents, and not as like a kid?
When I was 6.
Well, that came quick.
Right.
Let's hear it.
No, I just my
It's
dad.
hard to imagine that you were 6 at any time, but
Well, they had just invented paper.
Yeah.
he ain't kidding, y'all.
Right.
So no, I was very young.
Really?
My dad had a certain issue with him, and
Right.
he.
And again, it could also be either parent. Again, for
Sure.
me, it was just the aspect of like you're having this this conversation of like,
Well, with my mom, I never speak equal to her.
really,
She always has that place.
right.
But with my dad, there was no respect.
I see.
So by the time I lost the respect, that was done. That was done. He had to have been the biggest racist, bigot asshole on the planet. And I was
right.
not going to be like him. I
Right.
made early choices not to be like him.
Yeah. For me, there was one point in particular. I remember it pretty fondly. I had just moved back from living in Canada for almost 2 years, and I was at a Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, and my dad and I were sitting there, and it was just one of those chances for us to kind of catch up because I haven't seen my family in almost 2 years, and he and I were talking about stuff, and he was just venting about like his life and what was going on recently and all his struggles and stuff like that. And it was just this moment when like he didn't ask me for advice per se, but he definitely like he asked for my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like he asked it in a way that it just like made me realize I was like I've always looked at my dad. I've always had like a level of respect for him, and I've always like seen him as my dad, and I've always like had this like he always kind of knows everything sort of thing, or he can always fix anything is a better way to put it, because he was a paramedic and a mechanic, so
He's a fixer.
He just fixes everything.
Mm-hmm.
But to see him be in this like really low spot, and then just like to talk to me and vent to me, and then just to ask my perspective, my opinion on stuff, and then it just felt like it was like a friend talking to me and not like my dad. I was like, he kind of teared up talking about what he was talking about, and I teared up because I was like, my dad's asking me for advice almost. It was just kind of crazy, and so it really, and then ever since then, it's like my dad and I have had kind of like a little different relationship, not in a bad way, but just in like a.
Well, how did it change? What changed?
That's what I was wondering, like what led up to it.
Yeah,
that,
what? Yeah.
Like, I mean, apparently he thought you had some wisdom that he could benefit from. So what are the steps? Like, did y'all have conversations while you lived in Canada? Or?
Yeah, we talked a little bit, but I think it was also because of the stuff that I went through. It was like I went through a real low time. That was a point when like I had no money. I was in a very bad relationship that was like mentally and emotionally abusive and stuff like that. And so I turned to my family a lot of times and was talking to them about it. And I had freshly kind of like come out of that sort of thing. And I
probably sounds like he was watching you come out of that and wanted to know maybe what skills or tools you used to come out of that.
Stony, what a shocker, a millennial with no money.
Right. Oh,
I know, right?
You're right. Yeah. Well, it was also because, again, I had it was just a bunch of like bad decisions that just led up to one thing to the next. And of course, before you know it, partially for me it was I was trying to take care of too many people at once and not watching out for myself. And then of course, I was like,
so what did you learn?
I've actually known you since you were born.
I know. And
you are one of the most caring individuals I've ever met.
I appreciate
you have a
that.
good soul. So,
but the thing is, like, I learned, I mean, it's one of those things, like, I feel like you always know, but it really takes you, like, falling down and then having people kick you when you're down to go, like, oh, I now know this lesson. And it was like, you really got to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. And even though someone may say that they really, really care about you, you really got to make sure, like, in your heart of hearts what you got, like you're taking care of yourself. And, like, so that way before you start taking care of other people and you start, like, putting them above yourself, and, like, to your own detriment, that kind of stuff. So
kind of makes me think like those airplane speeches at the beginning.
Yes.
Put your own oxygen mask on first before you help someone else.
Of course, your kids and family, exactly. Yeah. And it was just so I came out of that, and I think, like I said, my dad was going through a recent divorce and stuff, and so it was hard because it hurt me because, again, like I said, looking up to this man and having so much respect for him. To see him at, like, a real low spot I just hurt, regardless, even if there's just a friend that you look up to and you're just like, I think you're a really cool guy, to see someone, like, go through a hard time, like, makes you sad. But it was like, this is my dad. And so just really, it hit me different. And then, of course, the relationship we have, like, moving out of that is just one of, like, I feel like not only do I have respect for him and I have love for him and he's my father, but I just feel like I have a friend. And I think that's the big, is it just changed that, like, it just changed my perspective of all of it. And I was like, wow, I know people have talked about this. It's like some people don't have quite as good a relationship with their fathers or their family or parents. And I may not have the same sort of relationship with my mom. I love my mom to death, and I may still have this kind of, like, fear and respect for her that I don't think will probably ever change. But my dad specifically was always kind of I got your back kind of guy. And then to have this kind of, like, perspective change really was, like, eye-opening for me. And I was like, wow, this is so cool.
Well, and to watch him go from Mr. Fix-It to there's real stuff in life I can't fix.
Exactly.
And so I need to talk about it. That's kind of, what I respect about what your dad did is it requires humility.
Right.
And that's hard to come by, especially when you're facing stuff that you don't want to admit that you can't fix.
Right.
And so
I think somebody from Gen X talking about humility. Oh my God. That's so shocking.
Oh, stop. Yeah.
Almost as shocking as a millennial not having money.
He's just pissed because we had the greatest music.
Oh gosh, stop. But yeah, but besides, like, again, like you're saying with your dad, you said you learned at a young age. Like, was it just like
well, my dad taught me very early on what I didn't want to do. What I didn't want to be.
Yeah, I don't want to be that.
Those lessons can be just as helpful as somebody teaching you. And I had those lessons later on from other people. Mm-hmm. But I knew early on what I was not going to do, or what I was going to be, or how I was going to speak to people, or how I was going to treat people.
Of course.
But 6 years old, I mean, that had to come hard in your generation because the kids were dismissed largely back then.
And that was part of the problem. You kids were seen, not heard from.
Yeah. And
then when I was 11... is when an incident happened that probably shouldn't say on the podcast. Right. It taught me I needed to move on.
Yeah.
I needed to go do my own thing.
Right.
Subsequently, my mom and dad got a divorce, and I built my relationship up with her to a good place. But she realized also that's not what she wanted to do. But back then, when they got married, that's what you did. You stayed.
Right.
The divorce rate at that time was still below, 50%.
Right.
I think now, thanks to your generation, it's about 75%.
And also, please don't let me bear the weight of my entire generation, because I don't think I
well, what the hell else good are you for?
I guess you're right, but man,
see, here we come again, not taking responsibility.
Can't even be accountable for his own people.
Take ownership,
sorry, all you millennials that just got,
I'm sorry that I feel like I
by your rep.
Oh, sorry. Are you offended?
No, I'm not offended by any means.
He's hurt.
Then we're not working hard enough.
Could you get him a Kleenex? He's shedding tears now.
Right.
We got to work a little harder. The offense is not great.
Please. The world's smallest violin playing "My Heart Weeps for You."
His man bun is going to need to get wrung out after this episode.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, I wish I had a happier story to tell, but the moment that instantly came to my mind, my mom, she suffered because she fought with alcoholism a lot.
Right.
And so I used to take some pretty hardcore lickings from her.
Yeah.
I remember very specifically a night when I was 13, and she was after me for stuff, and she had quite a few drinks. And she reared back to hit me, and I finally had enough. And I told her, if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back.
Oh, my gosh.
And it wasn't what I wanted to say, because there's that thing inside of you that fights.
Oh, right.
That fights kind of your upbringing. My upbringing was never to disrespect your parent. Of course. Never disrespect any adult.
And
never
it goes against all that.
And it goes against every fiber of your being. But I was being hurt. And so, for me, and I meant it. I was so tired of it, and so tired of the way I felt afterwards, and so tired of that. I was just like, I'm not going to keep taking this. Like, I cannot keep taking it.
Right.
And look how far we've come from our generation to the let's throw a fit in the Walmart generation.
Right.
Exactly. You're right. That's crazy.
Yeah. The one that,
I don't want to spank him.
I mean,
he needs.
Don't spank him.
Yeah, I love how
you
you guys
have special carts that look like cars too.
Let's time out.
I love how you guys are like talking like I believe in some of those things where I'm like I would never beat my child. I'm sorry. Like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I don't know. I don't agree with a lot of the millennial stuff.
Well, see, I think what happened though, and I'm going to own this. I'm going to own something from the Gen X is that I think we wanted to overcompensate for what we were taught in from the boomer generation, which it was like you said, kids were unseen, they were not heard from. They remember I remember growing up, my parents making me sit at a different table.
Yes,
at
that
events.
happened a lot with us.
Really?
Also.
Like you said,
Yes.
at the
You had
kids'
table.
Kids were never put at a level with the adults.
Ever.
Really?
So yeah, you ate your food at a low table, usually the coffee table in the living room with your cousins and everybody else.
And if somebody didn't die, there may not be a spot at the table for you to be 18 to 21 and move up.
Or food.
So you had to wait for somebody, granny or auntie or uncle to pass.
Yeah.
Then you might get an invite to the
to the
adult
spot.
table. Yeah.
And you didn't get offered the same thing the adults ate either.
Right.
Like you were always given
Is this
a hot dog.
Is this your family or is this a country club? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think what happened though is like my generation starts having kids and they didn't like it.
Right.
And so they overcompensated to the point where it was kind of like, okay, now our kids are worshiped.
Right.
And now we have, this thing where it doesn't seem like, kids have to be germ free. They have to, you can't even put, can't even put germs on your kids. If your kids are dirty, you freak out.
Right. Exactly.
You have to watch them constantly, which,
And they say the best thing you can do for your kid is to let it crawl on the New York subway floor, and I know that's harsh, but we're germaphobes now.
Right.
There are people
We've
from Ian's generation that crawl on the subway floor even today.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right.
They had their little New Year's party down in Times Square, and they can't walk.
And the thing is, like I love my mom so much. When I really think about it, she was a great mom. My dad worked offshore, so he worked like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off kind of thing. So he was like, he was always here and in bursts. And when he was there, it was like time for like the party. It was like, so it was very interesting in like the whole dynamic of the family. My mom was like the real taskmaster. She was the one that was like, I was definitely raised like I was very loved, but at the same time, like my mom was a no nonsense kind of lady. Mm-hmm. She was going to beat the hell out of me if I did something wrong and make me know about it. So I think me and my two younger brothers were definitely raised with a sense of respect that I think that like a lot of my friends that I especially have talked with did not have. So,
and I really never, as far as the dad who raised me, I never really felt like I was above him either. Kind of like what you were saying about, was it your mom?
Doing what?
That you never felt like you were above her, like you weren't talking on the same.
No. Yeah,
I felt that way about him. This guy was amazing. He would go and program the first computer that came out.
Oh, nice.
He always had the newest tech. Always. My whole life, I grew up in a, knowing that, we had the first VCR, we had the first, because he was such a tech nerd.
Yeah.
So I grew up around it, and I grew up always embracing it, which is why Ian is in my life today. It's because I like tech people.
Scared to ask why I am.
Right. Well,
You, on the other hand, still, we ask you to get out your tablet and you get a stone and a chisel.
At least I know how to sharpen it.
I mean, hey.
So, but yeah,
skill I don't
never
have.
felt, I always felt like he was superior.
Right.
And so I never felt like, but there were times, and we did music together. There were times where, that I felt like that was probably the closest that we came to operating kind of on the same plane.
Well, I think after hearing y'all talk a little bit and actually kind of listening to myself a little bit, I think it all stems down to, optics and respect. It seems like once you kind of, the respect thing has changed so much from my generation to your generation.
Yeah.
We
used to respect astronauts and doctors. And,
right.
It always boils down to that with that generation. With the boomers, everything's about R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
But,
they even wrote songs about it.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
But think about where respect is today. There is none.
Exactly.
That's not true. There's
Have you driven in here lately?
Hold on now.
every day. Every day. Are you talking about the sign language? That's universal. It's been around as long as I've been in a car. Same sign language. It's never changed over the year.
Right. I do think, maybe not it's 100% gone, but I do think it has changed.
It's definitely different.
And definitely different than what I
what we value is changing.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the respect change.
Oh, man. I recently watched, we've been watching some movies that are like timepiece or like period pieces or whatever from like World War I, World War II and all that kind of stuff. And I just started thinking about it, and I was like watching these movies and stuff, and it did a really good representation of what it was to like live in like that time period where it's like you like write letters to people if you want to, since I even back when I was born back in the 90s, it was like if you wanted someone to come to a party, like you sent them an invitation or like you wrote them or like you called them on the phone or something. But it's like now I just was like thinking about it. I was like, everything's so easy now. Everything is so accessible.
See,
and so,
I think it's the same sort of. I just think it's done in a different way. It's not
really.
It's not one long 6-page letter.
Right.
It's
right,
60 text and
a
couple of emails.
But I guess what I'm saying is like it's so immediate.
Yeah,
it's like it's so fast.
Well, your generation is the instant gratification generation.
Right.
Oh God, I hate when my wife makes me watch movies though about your generation, and it's not because I hate your generation. I love you. I'm here because of it. But all the pining. Oh my God, you're away at war and you don't get your letter for 13 weeks or something because the mail has to come. I'm so thankful that I don't have to do all that pining. Have you ever watched there's a show called The Notebook?
I haven't watched it.
I just wanted to I totally wanted to impale myself on an ice pick or something. Like if I had to watch any more pining over waiting for each other to respond to each other. And I was just like, I'm glad that we have modern technology and I embrace it fully. I think it's amazing.
And trust me when I say that by me saying I'm like looking back at these old technologies or whatever. And like, I think it's just like it made me realize that like it just kind of makes me wonder what it would be like, to have like that, to not have any technology. Not to say that I would want that or whatever, but it's like, again, I've just always the same. I grew up in a time when like I had to ask my mom if she was expecting any phone calls, for dial-up internet, and I was doing that by myself. I was like,
I can remember picking up the phone and somebody else having the next door neighbor having a conversation.
Oh man. I never had that though.
See, smartphones has taught me that like one of the greatest tricks in the world just carry your camera with
Right,
you and
right,
take a
right.
picture when somebody writes a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
you know, instead of going
exactly.
in So I wish that I had my Polaroid camera back from the days when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Because I would totally just take pictures of stuff from then on. Like, I wish I had known that trick. Now that the cameras are on our phones,
Right.
I don't ever write anything down. I let somebody else write it all down, and
Yeah.
then I just snapshot
Take a picture.
it, you know?
Yeah, right. And that's the thing is, I've been thinking about it as well because I use Google has a bunch of just like free programs that you can use for all sorts of stuff, notes and calendars.
Or as Stoney would say, the Google.
Oh my god! But there's all these things like I can just I have it all. I can log into one email address and I have all like my everything from my planner to my notes to whatever. And it's like, man, I just was thinking about it like things have happened so fast in the past few years. It's like it's crazy to think like what's going to look like in the future as well. But you know.
You know, and our phones. Now, I don't know about
Oh,
you, but
dude.
like if I lost my phone,
Yes.
I personally would go on shutdown.
Right,
Like I
right.
might still eat a little, but like that would be it. You know,
Well,
like,
you know,
I would
if
stop
you're,
thinking.
if you're walking
completely.
down the road and your friend trips and falls on their face, you're going to laugh your ass off. But if you drop your phone, you're screaming and
Yeah.
crying and hollering.
you're already calling the insurance company.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
My phone.
That's so good.
Can you get it to me tomorrow? This
Right,
afternoon.
Talk about priorities.
Well, unfortunately, I think, and I've seen this somewhere on the internet, but it says that you know our telephones today make us closer to people that are farther away and further
Right.
away from people that are close to us.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that's kind of where this is going, and that's kind of a shame.
I don't know. I text my kid and he's
Right,
in his
no,
bunk
no.
bed. I'm like, get your ass in here with your plates and put your dishes up. And by the way, bring me your iPad because
Right,
you're
right.
grounded.
Exactly.
And you see, I more envision him texting his kids saying, "I'm out of toilet paper. Bring me a roll of toilet
Hey,
paper."
I mean, that's a good use case right there.
right?
Let me tell you, I don't go
Oh,
and
right,
not
right.
think of toilet
Oh, of
paper
course,
first.
of
Oh,
course.
I
mean,
can imagine.
wow. So rude.
Yikes. Yeah, but yeah, that was the topic that I had in mind. If we're going back to the start,
Oh, there was a topic. I'm
right,
sorry.
right.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to bring it back full circle, try to at least. But that was the thing. Is just specifically in my life, I know also my generation. A lot of times don't have dads, and it's just one of those things. Like again, I know that's not one specific generation, but I know that I have a lot of friends growing up that just had a crappy stepdad or whatever, and it just I've always tried to appreciate my dad, and that was just one of those moments where I was like, I feel like as a man to a man and like a father-son relationship, it was like it rocked my world.
It has to be an interesting moment in life when you realize your dad sees you or visualizes you as a man.
Right, exactly, and that's what I think it felt like. Was not only that, but it also just felt like I know he loves me, but I know now that he likes talking with me. It's like I know he likes me now,
And that has to be a great relationship because all I can remember my dad saying is, it was my fault he had to get married and I ruined his life.
right.
You know, but I think we treat other adults in our lives differently than our parents because I don't know about y'all, but I was way smarter than all the other adults.
Right.
Right?
I mean,
I
you're
can
kinda
imagine
like,
you feeling that way.
well, I look at you and my mind's still made up.
Oh man. But what about I know you were saying about like you had a certain level of respect for your mom, but like what like was there I don't know, is there ever a point in time where you felt like
Like, what was your mom like, though? Like,
is like
were you afraid of her, or was it more like a,
I'm not scared of anybody.
okay,
right?
all right.
He lived a hard life.
It was a respect thing, you know. There was a point in time, you know, in the early 80s when I moved around with the job I had, and
Right.
I didn't speak to my family a lot. But
Yeah.
when it came time to forging back and you know, realizing my relationship with my dad wasn't going to be there, I still love my mom. I still love my grandparents, and
Right.
we were able to kind of forge through that and develop some relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But-
it worked out.
Was there ever a point whenever like you I guess because you learned all those lessons at a young age, at least like what you didn't want to be as a man, when did you like I guess have a certain level of independence where like I guess you realized like you could work independent of your parents, I guess. Was it
early, 17.
Really?
15, 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, and I hate to break it to you, but in our generations, we worked a lot younger.
Oh, and I believe it.
A lot younger. Yeah, I mean, I had my
some of us even lied about our age to work in McDonald's, so we could earn our own money. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
I quit my McDonald's job for the first day. I'll never believe. I was hired as a cashier. In my defense, I was hired as a cashier. I was supposed to ring up your Big Mac and your large fries.
Don't you have to be able to count to be a cashier?
So the computer did it for you. We had computers, not abacuses, Stoney, in your age. So
I just want to go to. I want to go to McDonald's and see someone using an abacus.
That would be awesome, right?
right.
Or walk up with one and go, "Okay,
hang on,
I'll have a."
Hang on, I'll be done with your receipt in a minute. Clink, clink, clink. No, I seriously, I was a cashier, and I'll never forget at the end of my shift, the manager walked up to me and handed me this handle with a bunch of fuzzy stuff on the end of it and a packet of like detergent looking stuff.
Oh no!
It looked like a bag of Coke, if I'm being honest.
Right.
And they said I was supposed to sprinkle it on the floors throughout the building and mop the whole thing, and then hose it all down into the drains.
What?
And I was like, no. I'm supposed to be a cashier, not the cleaner.
Right.
And they're like, oh no, this is part of the deal. And I was like, I quit.
Yeah, no thank you.
I quit on the spot and rode my bike home and got a check for like $10.
Nice.
It was very lucrative.
I definitely had a very different experience. I graduated high school and got my first job, same sort of thing as a cashier at a Sam's Club, like at a what'd you call it, like a wholesale store.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it, and I worked for like a whole year, and I learned a lot about myself, because I was also kind of like a little bit of a sheltered kid, and wasn't very social. Mm-hmm. So to have a job where it's like, not only do you have to like talk to these people and like, or sort of, and like scan their items and get their stuff out of the way, but like, we're Sam's Club. You have a membership. We want them to be special. They're not just, if they want to just go to the store to go buy stuff, you can go to Walmart or you can go to Target or whatever. Make them feel like you want them to be here. And I was like, I don't know how to talk to people.
His daddy
work ethics are definitely different.
No, exactly. And like also, so like there was definitely a few weird and very awkward encounters, but and also again, I had to also sell and like upgrade people's memberships a lot of times. So I had to like also be like a what do you call it? Like I guess like a salesperson, but like what is like someone like who calls you up on the phone and is like, oh yeah,
a peddler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I had to
cold caller.
Yeah. And I felt like, so I had to like while we're like having this casual encounter, I had to be like, oh my God, this Plus membership is the best thing in the world, even though I didn't believe any of it. So,
well, you can definitely tell how the work ethic has changed. I remember my dad, he worked at one of the petroleum companies or chemical companies. And he used to say, I don't take a dump at work. That's stealing time. And I was like, Dad, maybe if you took a crap, you wouldn't be so grumpy.
Maybe if you relieved yourself, wouldn't be so full of shit.
Exactly. Amen. Well, I think you're right. And I think that work ethic is so important in raising our kids. And I agree, man, but I also think that it's because our society has gotten so crazy, man. I mean, honestly, it's just not safe for that stuff to happen. I mean, I was working almost full time at a restaurant and going to school, middle school.
Oh wow,
middle school.
Oh my gosh!
And I did what Stoney did. I lied a lot about my age and stuff. Like I had my own apartment when I was 16.
See, I was going to go another direction with that. Like maybe you did sixth grade like 4 times.
I was a good student.
My mom, because my mom also was my teacher, like my homeschool teacher. So she was also like always present in that aspect. But she always taught me was like, I'm not going to have a kid who's going to sit around and not do anything. So either going to go to school or you're going to have a job. Mm-hmm. And again, as long as I was in school, I was getting good grades and I was respecting the house that my mom had set up for me, whatever. And I was like, I will do that. And again, I graduated high school. My mom was like, you're going to go to college or you're going to get a job. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I don't want to spend the money on college. I have no idea what I want to go for. So let's go get a job.
Well, I've told my son, in this new marriage that at 18 in a day, that's how long he can stay in the house. 18 in a day.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Unless he's going to college.
Right.
unless he's bettering him. Now, that can be a vocational school. That can be something. But you're not going to sit around and play video games.
Of course, yeah.
And harass your mom because you have no drive.
Exactly.
You will be out. You can have your birthday.
Right.
He says, you're going to make me move out on my birthday? I said, no, 18 and a day.
See, my kids in my generation, they did not want homeschool.
No.
They were like, heck no, I don't want to spend any time with my parents.
I got raised in like a part of town that wasn't so fun to be around. And so my mom was like, either I can like homeschool my kid or I can like send them off to this school. And my mom was also...
And you might come back.
Right. I'm making a different child.
Yeah.
And again, my mom was also the kind of lady that she was just very very protective over us, but was also very selfish of us. She was like, these are my kids, and I want to spend time with my kids. And it was like, and again, my dad was also making enough money at the time that she could be a stay-at-home mom mostly, and so she was like, I'm going to take advantage of this. These are my kids, and I'm.
There's just way more options now, like that wasn't even a thing.
Well, and that's part of the problem. Yeah. I think there are too many options. Yeah. The options, the dangers. Yeah. I should have been a parent when I was Ian's age,
right?
And I didn't. And now I'm scared to death. All of the things that I know in life and have seen and the dangers that I've confronted, I'm scared for this, this 11-year-old.
Right, so how many years did you go shooting blanks?
Oh, my God. Wow. What a question. Oh, my gosh. I don't think it's shoot blanks. I think it's called
actually for about 30
wrap
years.
it before you tap it. That's what he calls it.
I had stocking Trojan is what I was going to say.
Beyonce would say, if you like it, put a ring on it.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, man.
He's a mama's boy,
No.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
But I think, and it's kind of scary coming in today's times
now.
Now.
And it's also, like you said, because, again...
access. Yeah. With all these wonderful electronics that we've been talking about.
Right.
Now that you don't have the respect from the kids to say, don't do this, don't do that, do it this way.
Right.
They're going to circumvent you any way that they can.
Whatever. That hasn't changed. I swear, we would go hide in our fort and, we'd go through our parents' mail and pull out the Playboys and go to the fort, whatever. It's just coming in a different way, right?
I think it's a little bit worse.
It's definitely, I will say this, you're right. It's a much handier and easier access today than it was, because those times were few and far between then. Today it's
when you're looking at your dad's Playboy, is a lot different than what you can find on the internet today. It's a lot different.
So, and that's the thing is, like, I don't have TikTok, but I have friends that do, and they're like, the amount of times you can just like scroll through and like stumble across like
horrible stuff.
And not only that, it's also like very crazy points of views that like may not be wrong or may not be right or whatever, but it's also like a very, and it's like you have all these people between the ages of like 10 to 13 that are just like scrolling through and like getting all these like that's the only thing for me that I was kind of like, it's like kind of crazy for me is like
that's one of the banned apps in my home.
Exactly. It's like between the ages of like 10 to 13, like the biggest thing I had to worry about or I was questioning was like, what am I having for dinner tonight kind of thing, where I was like, that's about it. Like, and then I feel like I'm seeing all these people that are really young that are like dealing with these situations and problems. And I'm like,
they're growing up too fast.
Right.
Access is too easy. And access to our kids is too easy now.
Yeah, but let me ask you this kind of as a follow-up question. Like, so we've talked about like when that happened for us. Has it happened for you though with another young person? Like if you respected a young person to the point that you really kind of want their engagement, you want their thoughts and stuff? Because I'll be honest with you, I've really been enjoying my son more lately. He's just turned 10. So he's, gotten his gun now and he's gotten he's playing with, older kind of toys and things. His humor is more sophisticated, so he's a lot snarkier and everything. I don't know where he gets that from. It has to be his mom.
It can't be you.
No,
right.
Of course not. Only the good traits.
I'm behaving.
Whatever.
I'm behaving at this.
If I don't have anything nice to say,
mark this on your recording. Stoney behaved.
We should have a dry erase board.
Right. Milestone moments of this podcast.
Exactly.
Is there like a save it button?
Right.
Somebody screams out save it. It saves like the last 5 seconds or something. We're going to need that, I feel.
Right.
Some sound effects and a save it button.
Right. Nice.
We could do a whole nother podcast, Bullshit Bites.
Right.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but and I had a similar situation where like my music mentor, a couple, probably 4 or 5 years ago at this point, his son was going through the same thing. Was like 10, 11 years old. He had this same sort of sense of humor. Had a very similar personality type to his dad, and it was just really, really interesting to see that like. The crazy thing is like I remember things whenever I was 10 years old. Like I started having memories like from basically 7 or 8 up, and it's like I have known this kid since he was a swaddling babe, and so to see this kid now as like freshly double digits, it was crazy for me to think like, oh, this kid now is also like developing memories now, and it's like so you can play with a kid or a baby or whatever, and you're like. For the most part, they're probably not going to remember a whole lot. But for the first time I saw this kid, I was like, because he was like excited to see me and was like excited to talk to me about certain things. And even like X-Man's son kind of does the same sort of thing. Comes up to me and talks to me and like, is asking questions about stuff and is like really excited about something. And so
for
it's
whatever reason,
but like
because they hate me. Huh?
No,
my kids. Just so you know, don't let them fool you. My kids love both of these guys. I've tried to instill them with better taste, but it didn't take.
On.
It didn't take.
Right, but I had that realization of like, like me as a person, my personality, or like things that I'm doing with this kid that's getting them excited and getting them engaged. It's like they're gonna remember that stuff, and it's like, oh wow, that's when it's like. It opened my mind up to that. I was like, I remember people in my life when I was like going through those weird, awkward stages of like 12 to 13. And I remember certain people being encouraging and just like, just a passing thing of like being really cool and just like, man, that's a cool guy. And like to think that like I'm in a position now where I could be that for the kids as well. It's like, oh wow, that's really interesting to think about. That's crazy.
I think that's the hard part for me with. My new son
right
is he's 11, just turned 11.
Right.
And I want a buddy. I want, I have nobody to teach all the stuff I've learned in life. Of course. I have nobody to leave all my possessions to. And you kind of hope. Wow.
No, he's not all by himself.
Yeah. No. And it that's what I'm kind of hoping for us.
Right.
Is that we'll mold into that kind of a relationship to where
it'll happen, bro, but you're blending right now. That takes a while. It's going to take 2 or 3 years for that to
absolutely.
really happen.
Yeah.
Right.
But it'll happen. And you're a good influence on him. I don't know how. It just God can use anything or anyone.
He sure can.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you're a good influence on him, and so I think that the more you continue to just build that trust with him, you're going to find though that he is going to challenge you in ways, and you know what? You're going to change because of him and some of who you are.
Right.
And that's going to be a good influence.
I probably already have a little bit.
Yeah. So. And I think that's what Ian's talking about with this question.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of brought that side of it up is because, that's who I want to have that moment with.
Of course. Oh, that'd be so cool. And that's so exciting.
Yeah. I want it to be him. With every fiber in my body, I want it to be him.
That's cool. And it's crazy thing to also think about too, is like you were saying before, is like getting a late start too. It's like not only is it like my parents had like a small gap between like them being like young and like having a kid. Like I saw a picture of my mom holding me in the hospital room or whatever. I'm like, Mom, you look like a child. And she's like, well, I was like 20 something or whatever. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy to think about. And so to think now, like also you have so many years of like life and just experiences and stuff underneath you. It's crazy to think that like, again, now you have this, I don't want to say blank canvas, but
moldable life.
Right.
He's
you
a
have
moldable life because I have him at 11.
Right.
There's still a lot of good work and molding that I can do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of button heads to get through.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, my wife, she was also married before, and so I wasn't, but she was, and so I inherited through marriage a beautiful 15-year-old.
Right.
But that was challenging.
Oh, I bet.
Like what you're walking at, like with your relationship, Stoney, is, it's challenging if you're going to do that, because they already have some things that are within them, right. They've already had a lot of things
traits
established, and so it's not up to us to undo that. It's try to like how do I tap that in a way that it's constructive,
right,
and it's peaceful, and those are real challenges that you face when you go into a blended family and creating one. And it takes lots of time. I mean, if anyone listening is discouraged by that, just know that, we all who are in that situation feel your pain.
Right. And I think that's what's really interesting about this podcast right here is, we it's called Retrospect, but we really do have 3 different versions of the same topic,
right?
The same subject, from different times, from different life experiences.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can't help that my generation did it best.
Oh my God, no.
I just can't help it. I mean,
right.
I wish you could see Stoney's eyes right now.
You got the size of quarters over here.
Man. It rolled into the back of his head.
Man, I'm glad with how this first episode played out. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be really cool, and I'm hopeful for where this is going to go, and the things we're going to discuss and the topics we're going to hit on.
Yeah, I can't wait till people feel comfortable to just like write in good topics, and because I'd like to just have some of that, spitball a little bit of that with folks. But I'm like you, and I feel great about this and where it's headed, and I love you guys, even though I give you a hard time. But
absolutely,
this is gonna be really cool.
I think it's going to be fun. When we saw this kind of developing, we just kind of looked at each other and kind of smiled, because we kind of knew, this is going to be good.
This is going to be something we're all going to have fun with.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for new episodes of this show, it's going to come out every Monday at 6 a.m. On all the major platforms: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. I'm in the process of setting up like a Facebook page. Don't quite have it yet, but we will have one, and I'll have links to it as well.
Will it be only your name on that one too?
No, it won't.
Yeah.
No, it won't.
Just check.
No.
I think you put it on the Bezos rocket.
Right. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so yeah.
Mr. Control.
But
Ian Wolf.
Yeah. But again, as he just said, you can look at our link tree /Ian Wolf, and it has all of our links there. You can find all of our stuff there, and all my other stuff that I do as well if you need to.
See, promoting his other stuff. Piggyback on us.
Hucking his other stuff on our podcast.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, you forgot to put that in the contract, Ian.
Right. Well, I mean, you guys are also welcome on the other podcasts as well, too, if you want to. But
sure.
Anyways.
Nice save, Ian.
Until next week, bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace.